Mike Kingbiz here, host of On the Mic with Mike, Richmond's premier business radio program. We're heard as part of the Mike Kingbiz Radio Network, which is ESPN Richmond 106.1, daily from 5 to 7 a.m., The Choice 105.3, every day from 2 to 3 p.m., as well as International Business Growth Radio. That is Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern. That's where you find us. That's where the game changers come to talk. On the Mic with Mike, Mike Kingbiz Radio is the premier business radio program in Central Virginia. On the Mic with Mike King here. We are part of the Mike King Biz Media Network. Alrighty, so it is a business show. We talk to the best and the brightest. Our good friends over at Fahrenheit, they said, hey, we got a new dynamic star. You got to meet her, and welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thanks, Mike.
Alrighty, so tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure, I'm Selena Sanderson. I am the Sales Advisory Practice Lead and Growth Advisor, Managing Director at Fahrenheit. Just started in that role about a month.
Okay, Fahrenheit. Talk about what, and as I said to you, I knew what Fahrenheit did in the community before I knew what Fahrenheit did as a business. What is Fahrenheit Advisors?
So Fahrenheit Advisors is a company that gives confidence to small mid-market companies to grow in 4 areas. We help them on the sales advisory growth practice side, which I do. We have a finance team that helps out with CFO, any kind of financial advisory growth pieces, and also selling a business after you've been acquired. Anything on the financial side, our finance team will do. HR, we have a human capital to help with any company who has needs regarding their people and engaging their people, building culture, whether it's fixing regulatory issues and or making sure that they're listening to their people. And then we have an executive search group that does, you want somebody, leadership or any high-level role, we can do that for you as well.
One of the things, so you have big business in your background. Talk about the Richmond ecosystem, how you see it right now.
Oh, I love the ecosystem. So my background, I actually went to the University of Richmond and went to UVA for my MBA, and my first job was working for FFE Interbake Foods. So I grew up in the Richmond sense, but in the big business of Richmond sense, because FFE was owned by a Canadian company. And most of my career was working through that company, 25 years. I ended up running it for a few years, and then ended up spending a lot of time outside Richmond. Coming back to Richmond as in this part of my career has been phenomenal. We are no longer a company of just, a city of just big companies. We are a city of entrepreneurs. There's tech here. There's always been banking here, but there's tech here. There's startup here. There's so many incubator companies, and there are a lot of mid-market companies in Richmond that are on the manufacturing side, pharmaceutical side, medical side, that are just sprouting out. So it's just been a phenomenal thing for me to come back and rediscover Richmond.
Okay, so Selena's here with us on the mic with Mike. You know, sometimes they say salespeople are born. But salespeople are born, but better salespeople can be made with practice. What's your idea on salespeople being born? That person's a natural born salesman.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not a natural born salesperson.
You said you were an accidental. So, ma'am, what exactly does that mean?
So I love to problem solve and I love people. So for me, it's not about selling something to somebody that may not want it. It's about they got a problem and I think I can help them solve their problem, right? So it's a very different type of selling. And the way I got into selling was I'm a data geek.
You're one of them.
Well, I'm a data geek, but I'm also a people person.
So because that's a tough
combo. Yes.
Right, because techies a lot of times can't speak English. And then you get salespeople would define a salesperson who understands enough to be a good technical salesperson is something. When did you know you were the good problem solver? Were you that as a kid?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the first time I sold. I grew up in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, and I think I mentioned this to you. So when I was young, you barter for stuff, right? You're in the markets bartering for stuff. Jamaica is a third world country. And I used to barter with kids at school with lollipops, and a lot of kids at school didn't have a lot, so I brought lollipops to school. It was a blow pop at the time, and I learned People were hungry. They wanted something, and maybe candy wasn't the right thing.
But it served a purpose.
It served a purpose, and so you grow from problem solving. I bought those lollipops in a bag. They were like 5 cents a piece, and I sold them for $1. I mean, that was my first foray into selling. It was understanding people's needs, finding a solution, and then selling. So that's an elementary thing. But I loved also making people happy, kids happy, because a lot of them didn't have. And for every 2 or 3 you buy, you give one. Anyways, I can tell you all about that marketing. So that's how I got into quote unquote selling. But more importantly, when I graduated from business school, I was traveling with the salespeople doing data analysis, and we were trying to sell cookies. This was FFE Bakery. We're trying to sell cookies, and we sold cookies at the time to all the big grocery stores, Walmart. We actually sold Girl Scout cookies as well. But I was on the retail team. And the sales guys were having a tough time because you're competing against Nabisco, you're competing against all these people that are very, very high-end, sophisticated sellers. And I would look at the data and basically explain to the salespeople in very layman terms how to position the product to help their customer sell more cookies. And so that's really what it was about. It was I remember our first sale, and this is true to Family Dollar. This is really in North Carolina. We came in on the tail ends of a Nabisco person, and she asked. At the time, it was Guy Ray I was with, and he was the salesperson. She said, "Ray, tell me why should I buy your product?" And Ray said, "Well, let Selena show you." And he's Southern. Let Selena show you some of the data, and we made a simple chart to show why, in addition to she was selling Oreos, why she needed to sell chocolate striped shortbread and the demographics. And she was not only wowed, but she basically said, that Nabisco guy kept telling me that I should give all of my space to the Oreo cookies. And I really understand now that some people don't like that. There's some people that like that cookie, but I'm not fitting a need in the marketplace. So that's a lot about how data can help you to sell. But it's about problem solving. It's not just shoving the data down people's throat. And you can get too caught up in it, too.
You can get caught up in it. It is something. Alrighty. So you made the comment about there's salespeople, and then there's good, profitable salespeople.
Yes.
And we just saw Jack Daly the other day. Shout out to him and Scott McRoberts
yes.
at the Virginia Council of CEOs. Talk about the difference between salespeople and the good, profitable salespeople.
Yeah, so we've come out of and I used to sell tech too. So a lot of companies are all about going public or getting bought, and as salespeople, they're in the most recent past, I think 10 years or so, it's been about top line only. There are some companies that they do that. They flip the company buys them, and there's not sustainable profit underneath. I'm from the old school. So Jack also said this. Not just about selling, it's about profitable selling. So folks who just want to sell something and do it without thinking about the ramifications for the organizations longer term, to me, are not great salespeople. Great salespeople understand that there's some of that you can do to grab the top line, but really marrying the operational execution side with what you can sell is where the magic sauce happens. So when you can get that top line as well as the internal operational folks to be delivering that top line even better, faster, quicker, and also at low cost, that's when the company really, really thrives.
So what exactly is your role that you're doing over at Fahrenheit? Let's talk about the sales practice there.
Yeah, thanks. So, first I wanted to talk about why I joined Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit
we
had that kind of conversation too. Fahrenheit, to me, like I mentioned to you, I've worked with some big companies, and when I decided to retire, I realized I wasn't ready to retire. I wanted to start working with people who are not just about making money or selling or, selling their product or service, but really about the community. And like you said, I learned about Fahrenheit first because of their cause, what they do in the community. Rich is on the Cameron Gallagher board, and both he and Keith have done the Heart program. They're very involved in the community. And when I first was approached to do a project for them, and that's where I started on the delivery side doing a project for them, I met with Keith and Rich, and they were just both grounded people, and they care more about helping the community and helping other businesses than just making money. And that really stood out to me. Our sales advisory practice is just that. So it's a newer practice. Our focus is on mid-market, and it's about helping the mid-market companies who may not have the confidence. They don't know what to do to get to the next level. They're trying to grow their business. We just talked about this CEO that may be spending 50% of his time selling, and then 40% of his time doing admin, and then 10% of his time, that's not sustainable, because if you want to grow your company, you need to get to the next, you need to have some of those tasks to be moved off you. And most importantly, a CEO is always selling the company, but they really shouldn't be the one responsible for talking to customers all the time and executing the sale. They should be responsible for talking to customers and getting feedback many times through the year. But if they're the ones out there selling all the time, who then is going to get them to, who's going to get to the next level?
Because they're not doing the strategic work.
Absolutely.
They're doing
the tactical selling work.
Yes, and so one of the things that Jack Daly had said was, if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. Because like you're saying, 50% of the time is selling, 40% of the time is the admin work. So now you're not looking for the next opportunity. So do you guys train salespeople, or do you supplement a sales staff? Or
so we do a number of things. Training is the least of what I say we do. What we actually do is, first, we can help someone with a go-to-market strategy. So if you're a CEO, first of all, and you're successful doing what you're doing, but you want to grow, where do I go to next? Where's the next? Is there a service similar to what I'm doing that I can test? So we can help someone with a go-to-market strategy on that front. We do the analysis. We work alongside you. We help build out the plan. We also do processes. So Jack talked about this as well, and this is a huge opportunity for a lot of mid-market companies that don't know it. So you're a CEO, and you're fantastic. You've done some great job. You've grown the business. What are you doing that you want your VP of sales or your next hire to do? What are those best practices, and what's that sales process look like? And make sure that you capture that in a playbook, because as you bring in the next person and the next person and the next person, you want to make sure that he or she is hitting the ground running, and they don't take 3 years or 5 years that you have taken to build the business. They're taking what you know that works and going out and testing it and going after it quicker, faster. So that's the other thing that we do. We help mid-market companies to scale, because we help them develop processes, think through the best practice, and we also benchmark, because since we work with a lot of companies, you might find that there's an industry that's doing something that's not competitive to yours, but their sales practice is maybe something you want to try to take your team to the next level. We put together performance metrics. So again, with the process, a lot of times people think selling is an art. There is no science behind it, and there is science behind it. So understanding where your people are spending their time, the activities, how long it's taking you to engage a person. So if you have a 6 months sales cycle, what do you need to do during that 6 months to escalate it? Where do your people need to spend the time, and then measure them and make sure that they are following a process. And as you learn and you get better, and especially when you go into new markets, you can take that data to really, really grow faster.
Sometimes people are scared with the data, and they don't realize the power in it.
Absolutely, which is why I said, for me, data is an affirmation. It's not some people are analysis paralysis, and they use data to validate 100% that something's going that way. To me, it's like, come up with a hypothesis and then capture the data and make sure that the data is saying, hey, you're moving in the right direction. That's what you use it to do. It's not going to be an end-all, be-all, because the world is not perfect, and the marketplace and customer needs are always changing.
One of Mike King here. Hey, in studio with us, we have Latasha Ngu. She's going to come around and talk a little bit. She didn't know she was going to come around. And we're going to talk a little bit about, here you go. Tasha had some questions and things that she had wanted to. Tasha, the floor is yours.
Oh, the floor is mine. The floor is mine. Okay.
We were talking about branding earlier, I think.
We were talking about branding earlier, and I was like, from a branding perspective, we always want to know like why a client does what they do. So how do you take like the value proposition from branding and things like that and use it to help a company create like a little sales plan?
Well, I was just saying, it's so funny that you say that. So I talked about the word confidence, right? And very honestly, that's what I feel Fahrenheit does. We give confidence to our clients to make better decisions. So a lot of our clients don't know what to do next. They know they want to grow. They know they want to get bigger, but they're kind of like, oh my gosh, and they're like, what's the return on investment in this? Yeah. Because we have people like myself that have made mistakes, that have been with big businesses, we can share with our clients some of the things that we know that work, and then we can also share with our clients certain things that they can test. And it's kind of like having a mentor, an advisor that's on hand to help you test things out. So confidence on the branding side is what we do. Within a nutshell, I don't know if that answers your question, is how we try to give that confidence to our clients.
You try to give that confidence to your clients.
Right.
That makes total sense, because you need that confidence and you need that clarity in order to create that sales statement and able to buy and tell people why it's important to buy from them. So I really, really, really like that.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
I like how you said that you were like an accidental salesperson. But for Fahrenheit, and what do you do? What is like the main message that you guys put out to your clients that you're helping? Like, this is how we can help you.
Well, the confidence piece is because, again, it's across HR, finance, sales, and advisory. We're a one-stop shop. So, for a lot of smaller companies, they can't necessarily afford to have an expert in all those areas. So if they need someone to talk with, we're here. And we can do that on a fractional basis. We can do it on an advisory basis. We can take a project from them if they want some help. And then we can work alongside them to really test and make sure, again, that they're confident that when they go higher and expand their business, that they have the data and the proof that it's working.
And that's it. And another thing I like to tell people is like, it's beauty in the failure and embrace the process. So what is a short story that you can tell about a failure, but on the back end, how you saw that it was helpful for either yourself or a company?
Myself personally. So yeah, it's the mistakes that we learn the most from. So I will say that I ran a business that we were very, very strong in what we were doing, and I don't know if you're probably too young. The book Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh yeah.
So, anyways, the marketplace changed, and we were very profitable doing what we're doing, and not keeping in touch with our customers. And a competitor just went in underneath us and did it quicker, faster. And we started to realize that was happening. Luckily, got back out in the field, were able to work with some of our larger customers, but we did lose some business because we got cocky and got separated from the customer. I love what Beth was saying. That's one thing a CEO has to do, because sometimes if you get yourself so tactically involved in just doing and not picking your head up, and the market's always changing, the needs are always changing. If you're not always talking to your customers or prospective customers, you'll lose, eventually, because the competition's going to copy you, and they're going to copy you quickly. So if you're doing something successful, there's always a competitor there. So that's one thing I will say that I learned from, without giving too much specificity, but it's a very real thing that happens to lots of businesses as well.
It is a very real thing, and that's what I like to tell people. Like, hey, always look at the landscape, and especially for like legacy brands, those brands that have been around a really long time, and it's like the culture is changing, everything is shifting, and you have to keep up with those movements, or like you said, someone's gonna sweep in and start, and now you're scrambling like, oh, I gotta fix it.
Yeah, and I love what Mike said earlier, because Mike was talking about, for a lot of companies, there's this big shiny object. Yes. So a lot of times people are always like, oh, I got to go after this big shiny object because everybody's going after it. The other thing that's really important for any businesses, especially businesses who are trying to grow, is to know what you're good at and be testing all the time. But don't always think just because the big shiny object looks great and everyone's growing there, that's where you should go. There's some strategy around letting everybody run after that big shiny object, and you really staying focused on what you do while building around that. So Mike, you said that earlier to Beth, and I think that was really, really important, because I think a lot of companies too, especially when you start to grow, they lose focus.
You lose focus, yes.
And then they spend resources. Well, there's a lot of companies in Richmond that you get money and you spend resources and you think you're going to be big. You don't really need, and you don't have the metrics to measure.
Absolutely.
And then you're not measuring it, and then before you know it, you're behind the 8 ball.
Yes, I'm glad you. I was speaking to this startup founder the other day, and we were having a back and forth because he was set on everyone has to be my customer in order for me to make money. And I was like, if everyone's your customer, who are you marketing to? Who are you? Like, that doesn't make sense. I was like, bring it in. It's okay to have a specific niche, because when you have someone that you're specifically targeting to, that's where you make your money at. You can't be everywhere at once, or who are you talking to?
Exactly.
You can't really clarify your message like that. So I'm really, really glad that you brought that up. Is there anything that Fahrenheit is doing right now, or that you're doing, or prospecting, or something that's going on in the community that you guys are contributing to that you would like to talk about?
Oh, sure. Well, Mike might not like this, but we have nominated a new director of confidence. So our new director of confidence is Rodney the Ram from VCU. And we're going to be sponsoring with VCU this year a huge rollout, because what we do in the community is all around trying to help folks in the community to be successful. So, and like I said, it's about confidence. That's what we do. And when you and I were talking a little bit more there about, people running after shiny objects. Mm-hmm. One of the things that Fahrenheit has stayed true to and is really giving back. And so we believe VCU exemplifies what Richmond is about. There are lots of great universities here, but Rodney is one that Beth was talking before about kids who come to campus and then they're nervous, but by the time they graduate, they're confident and they come back and they're amazing alumni. That's what we want to create in this community about Richmond, as well with our clients about their business.
Nice.
And we'll continue to do that in whatever way we can.
Well, that is beautiful, and thank you for sharing.
No, that helps.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. This is On the Mic with
Thanks
Mike.
for the opportunity, Mike.
I'm Latasha.
And I'm Selena Sanderson at Fahrenheit.
You guys have a great day.
Take care.